What's going on, tribe and everybody? Stephen Bardo here with another edition of Bardo's Breakdown. Hope you guys are doing well. Um, Wanted to come to you today because we've got some news, some different things outside of seems like the conference ales. There's been some confusion around the new media rights deal, so there's been some things that have been not completed, but we won't get into that. We're going to talk about the fun stuff. Hope you guys doing well. Having a great week. Um, Stuff is, now there used to be an off season for college basketball, but with the transfer portal, with NIL, with some of the rules changes, with some of the announcements, and trying to see whether players are going to come back to college, they're going to stay in the draft. Um, we're going to talk about the Gavitt Games today because that schedule was released. I believe it was yesterday afternoon. So let's get into that here. And obviously, if you want to join the inner circle that is Bartle's Breakdown, text the tribe 312-847-2739, or you can go old school route. You can join by email, stephenbartle.com/college-basketball-newsletter. All right, let's get into it. Gavitt Games schedule announced. What is the Gavitt Games? Those are the games that take place between Big East schools and Big Ten schools. And so I like it better than the ACC Big Ten Challenge, even though that was the granddaddy of the conference challenges, the ACC Big Ten Challenge. That's now gone away. I really like the Gavitt Games, and I think that if the Big Ten really wanted to be boss about it, go get a series of games with the Big 12 conference. Go ahead and challenge yourself against the best conference in the country. But the Big East, Big Ten hookup in the Gavitt Games, it's always fun. So let's take a look at the schedule. On Monday, November 13th, Xavier at Purdue and Michigan State at St. John's in Madison Square Garden. So let's talk about this a little bit. Let's talk about Xavier and Purdue. Everything kind of hinges around Zach Edey's return for Purdue. If he comes back, they're top 5. If he doesn't, they could still be top 25 based on their other personnel. I think Caleb First, Trey Kaufman-Wren will hold it down on the interior whether Edey comes back or not. We know the guards will be a year more experience under their belt. They can replace David Jenkins and his senior leadership, but it'll be interesting to see what Purdue looks like because Xavier is going to be a totally different team. It looks like Sule Boom, Jack Nungy, and Kobe Jones will all be gone. I think Zach Freemantle may be able to come back because he may get a red shirt, a medical red shirt with that foot injury, but that's always an interesting game because Sean Miller does a really good job coaching up the Musketeers, and that'll be a fun matchup, always in Mackey Arena. And then Michigan and St. John's hook up in Madison Square Garden. So this is Rick Pitino. This will be one of his first games as head coach at St. John's. He's going to get the Wolverines in Madison Square Garden Arena, where a lot of times St. John's has a home court. They may not in this game. There are a ton of Michigan alums in the New York area. Michigan will probably have more fans than St. John's at this game, but it's going to be interesting. We don't know. There's a lot of moving parts with Michigan's roster. They lost Caleb Love. So I know that they're busy trying to replace some scoring prowess there. I know they were in on Ray J. Dennis. He visited the point guard that we'll talk about here in a little bit that Illinois seemed to be the favorite on, but now it doesn't appear that way. So both teams trying to figure themselves out. Both rosters will be in flux, but obviously with Juwan Howard and Richard Pitino at the helms of both teams, that would be, if anything, that would be entertaining. All right, Tuesday, November 14th, Wisconsin at Providence, Marquette at Illinois, and Iowa at Creighton. Let's start off first with Marquette at Providence. I'm sorry. not Marquette at Providence, Wisconsin at Providence. There we go. Um, it's going to be great because to me, Kim English is one of the best young coaches in all of college basketball. He's taking over Providence for Ed Cooley, who departed for Georgetown, who we'll talk about briefly here in a little bit with the Gavitt Games, as he's the head coach at Georgetown. But Kim English has done a fantastic job at George Mason before he got to Providence, and he has secured, I believe, two of the recruits that were coming in. I think he got them to recommit to Providence. So don't be surprised if this will be a very competitive game. Wisconsin, they'll have some, some pieces back that we've grown accustomed to seeing. Tyler Wall, Chucky Hepburn, Stephen Crowell, to name a few. I know that Jordan Davis has left. He is in the transfer portal, but they got a big-time guard, A.J. Storr, out of St. John's, is going to be on Wisconsin's roster. He will pick up a lot of the scoring slack. So that will be an interesting matchup between Wisconsin at Providence. And then this is the matchup I'm looking most forward to. I think Marquette at Illinois will be a fantastic matchup. Now, Marquette may lose Omax Prosper to the NBA. He was one of the players that really helped himself in last week's NBA draft combine. So more than likely he's gone. But everybody else, from the Big East regular season and the Big East tournament champion, Marquette Golden Eagles returns to that team. So Marquette will be a Big East favorite. They may, depending on what happens with Jordan Hawkins and Jackson with UConn, Marquette may be the preseason favorite in the Big East, coming into Illinois with question marks around Terrence Shannon Jr. and also Coleman Hawkins, what they're going to do, whether they return or whether they stay in the draft. And the question marks at the point guard position right now for Illinois. That seemed to be the bugaboo the last time these two hooked up. It was a fantastic matchup up in Milwaukee where Andre Corbello, I believe, had 8 or 9 turnovers, something like that. He was Marquette's best friend, and Marquette came from behind to upset Illinois because I believe Illinois was nationally ranked that game, and Marquette came from behind to win that one. So that is going to be a fun matchup. And then the last one on Tuesday, Iowa versus Creighton. Now, Creighton seems to be a little bit more stable in what they're doing in their roster. It looks like Ryan Kalkbrenner, Baylor Shireman, who I thought he was testing the NBA waters, but he is more than likely to come back, and possibly Trey Alexander as well. So Creighton's roster, they'll have some veterans coming back, whereas Iowa's roster is going to look a lot different. And Cricky, the young big from Valpo, he's going to have to grow up quickly in this game because he's going to be going up. Ben Cricky, I believe, is the young man that is coming in from Valparaiso to Iowa. Very skilled big, but going up against Ryan Kalkbrenner, probably the premier defensive big in the country. That's going to be a tall task, but I think that game could very well be in the 90s or 100s. That's going to be an interesting matchup. On Wednesday, the sole game on Wednesday, Georgetown at Rutgers. We talked about that, and it's going to be interesting. The first marquee matchup for Ed Cooley in the Ed Cooley Georgetown era. I know their roster, like a lot of rosters, is in flux, but they really have a lack of veterans returning from the last time I checked. Georgetown's roster. And then also Rutgers is waiting on to see if Cliff Amore and Paul Mulcahy will return. They've had some changes in the offseason. Cam Spencer leaves unexpectedly in the transfer portal. 2 high recruits decommit. I believe it had something with to do with Carl Hobbs leaving, the assistant leaving Rutgers and going and joining Damon Stoudemire at Georgia Tech. I believe Bayo Ndongo, one of the higher, I think he was a 4 or 5-star recruit out of high school that had committed to Rutgers. He's already announced that he's following Carl Hobbs down to Georgia Tech. There was another young man, Delquan. We'll talk about this in a little bit, but Rutgers is in flux, so it's going to be interesting to see what roster will show up for Rutgers in this matchup with Georgetown. And then there's a break on Thursday, and then Friday there are two more games, and these are really marquee as well. You're talking about Villanova and Maryland hooking up. Maryland at Villanova, and this is according to the Field of 68, they call this the Hakeem Hart revenge game, where Hakeem Hart, Big Ten fans know, that has been in Maryland for the last 3 seasons. He's now transferred to Villanova, so that will be interesting to see this matchup. And Kyle Neptune and Villanova really trying to get back to where they have grown accustomed to being under Jay Wright. Villanova had a ton of injuries last season, had a lot of a little bit of turmoil, but a lot of injuries and key injuries to key personnel that really hurt them. But expect Villanova to return back to their top 25 status with Hakeem Hart in tow. Also, I believe they've got, I saw a center that will join Eric Dixon up front. So Villanova's going to be really good. And Maryland's going to be pretty good because Maryland returns 3 of their top 4 scorers, including Philly native Dante Scott. So he'll have a coming out party. So a lot of people think that will be the key. That will be the marquee matchup of the Gavitt Games. It will certainly be a good one. And then you've got Butler at Michigan State. Butler under Thad Matta, they had a horrible run of injuries last season. They've lost some personnel due to the transfer portal. Also, a couple guys, I believe, had their toe in the NBA draft process. So, Butler that's going to be tough, a tough task, because Michigan will probably more than likely return Jaden Akins and also AJ Hogard, who are going through the NBA draft process. They will more than likely return. And if they do, Michigan State returns everyone except for Joey Hauser off of that Sweet 16 team. And young man Booker, who is a 5-star recruit, McDonald's All-American, he comes in. Jeremy Fears is a very talented guard out of the Chicagoland area. He comes in as well. So Michigan State is loaded, ladies and gentlemen. I think that they will more than likely, I think if Edey returns to Purdue, Purdue will be the favorite in the Big Ten preseason. If Edey does not return, I still can see, even if Edey does return, I can still see where some writers and some people that have to do with the preseason prognostications, Michigan State, I would not be surprised to be the early Big Ten favorite, preseason favorite in the Big Ten. All right. Got to pay some bills right now. Hold on, y'all. Let's see here. Let me get this going. You ready? Hey, parents, do you have a teenager that loves sports but may not be talented enough to retire you in the next 10 years? Then you should consider getting the Art of Sportscasting ebook. Art of Sportscasting is an introductory ebook into the exciting world of sports broadcasting. Your teenager will learn the importance of presentation skills, how to think quickly on the fly, how to work with teams, and develop their confidence through repetition, and so much more. I've been really blessed to become one of the best sportscasters over the last 25 years. And I want to share my knowledge and experience to help develop the next generation of sportscasters. Once your teenager finishes this insightful ebook, they will surely want to join the Art of Sportscasting monthly community. It's a fun and exciting community that your kids will love. Go to theartofsportscasting.com to find out more. Get your ebook, The Art of Sportscasting, today. Holla, y'all. Hey, parents. All right. Got those bills paid. Thank you for your patience. And look, I'm telling you, great ebook. Go get it. Theartofsportscasting.com. You won't regret it. If your kids are involved in some things, but you're trying to gauge their taste for certain things, if you got a sports fan, they'll love it. So make sure you check that out. Okay. So we covered the Gavitt game schedule, gave you a brief thing on that. Let's get to a little bit of news here. And I referenced this earlier. What is going on with Rutgers? Cam Spencer enters the transfer portal. He had an outstanding season, was their best offensive player for Rutgers. He enters the transfer portal kind of late. It was kind of weird, in my opinion. Now, you can enter the transfer portal if you're a graduate. And Cam Spencer obviously has got his degree from Rutgers. So he's able to go into the transfer portal at any point if you have graduated. That's the difference, okay? So a severe blow to Rutgers, especially with Paul Mulcahy and Cliff Omori's future undecided based on them checking out the professional route. And then the latest one is 4-star point guard Delquan Warren decommits. And I'm not sure if Carl Hobbs, the aforementioned assistant coach that has left to join Georgia Tech. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. I'm not sure if he'll join Baye Ndongo, who followed Hobbs to Georgia Tech. I'm not sure if Delquan will do the same, but he has decommitted and reopened his recruiting. So yet another blow to Steve Pikiell and what Rutgers is trying to do. It's unfortunate because I love to see the East Coast teams get some love. Penn State, Maryland, Rutgers, it's good to see them have success because I think it balances out the Big Ten very, very nicely. So we'll see if Rutgers can recover from some of these blows, but these are big, big blows. All right. One of the best point guards still in the transfer portal is taking his time. He's doing a Hunter Dickinson and taking his sweet time to make up his mind. Ray J. Dennis, the MAC Player of the Year out of Toledo. He has visited Illinois, Michigan, Baylor, and Utah, and he worked out with the Boston Celtics because he put his name in the NBA draft process. He's not going to stay in that system. He is testing the market to find out what he needs to work on and what he's doing. But he worked out with Boston Celtics. He will be removing his name, but we'll see whether Illinois, Michigan, Baylor, or Utah can utilize him because Ray J. Dennis, he will immediately turn a team into a contender. His numbers are outstanding. 19 points a game, 6 rebounds, over 5 assists, and I believe 2 steals at 6'2" with a nice body and a senior. He's an older guy. He's a more mature player. He's a very coveted player in the transfer portal. He says we'll hear any day now. He said that on Monday. We're at Thursday, so unless he makes an announcement tomorrow, I think that he will probably we'll probably have to just wait and see. But he's definitely taking his time, and we'll see what happens as a result. Again, if you want to be on the inner circle, that is Bardo's Breakdown. Go to stephenbardo.com/college-basketball-newsletter. And you can also join the text group if you'd like. If you join the tribe, text me to 312-847-2739. That's 312-847-2739. Okay. We got a few comments, not a ton. I know I caught you guys early doing a little lunch special here. Hoop Baller Scoop. So right now, I trust knowing the college landscape on paper. Maybe this. Yeah, I'm. Kansas got Kevin McCullough Jr. He pulled his name out of the NBA draft process as well, so he will be going back to Kansas. So when you look at what Kansas has, Artumo. What is Artumo's last name? The young man that transferred from Texas to Kansas. So Kansas has DeJuan Harris, a national champion, veteran point guard. Artumo, that's come in from Texas, is a bona fide scorer. Kevin McCullough now returns a 6'6" wing player. You've got Hunter Dickinson up front, and you've got a plethora of other talented players that may not have gotten a bunch of tick last year, but believe me, Bill Self will figure it out. So Kansas will definitely be in the top 5 preseason. Michigan State will definitely be top 5. I don't see where Jaden Akins and AJ Hogart will stay in the draft process. I could be wrong. I don't see it. And if they do return, Michigan State would be top 5. And then I'd be surprised if Zach Edey returns to Purdue that they wouldn't be top 5 as well, just based on him being pretty much the player of the year in college basketball last year, the young backcourt having another year of experience. Caleb First, Trey Kaufman Wren having another year of experience. And I think Brandon Newman has transferred. I believe he transferred. So that clears out a little bit more space for some of the younger players on Purdue as well. So I do believe that they could be top 5 or top 10. Thank you, Hoop Baller Scoop. Good to see you. What's up, Courtney Gilmore? And good players that put their name in the draft without an age to come back. And I'm talking Big Ten wise. Well, I think the majority of the players that put their names in will return. I don't really see a path where Coleman Hawkins will stay in the NBA draft because I don't know that he helped himself in the draft combine. I've talked to a couple scouts and they think that he needs to return back to college. Same with Terrence Shannon Jr. I'm not sure that he helped himself in the process either. So both of those guys more than likely will return. I don't see a route where Paul McCahey and Cliff Amore. I can see where Cliff Amore would stay in the draft just because of his size and athleticism and length. The type of wingspan that Cliff has and his athleticism will make NBA teams salivate. Even if he doesn't get drafted, he would probably be a pretty good free agent candidate that a team could sign him as a free agent. Paul McCahey, on the other hand, great size at the point guard position at 6'7", but just doesn't score enough, isn't athletic. I'm not sure what his wingspan is. So defensively, I'm not sure if he tantalizes NBA scouts, Courtney. And so I would be surprised if he doesn't come back. The Michigan kids are gone. Kobe Buffkin, even if he had a second round guarantee, I think he was going to leave. So I don't expect him to come back. Jet Howard will more than likely be either a lottery pick or a first round pick. So he won't be back. Let me think who else. Trace Jackson Davis will more than likely be drafted maybe at the end of the first round, early second round. So he won't be back. Jalen Hood-Schifino will stay in the draft. He'll be a first round draft pick. Boo Buie has already announced that he's coming back. I would expect Chase Aldeej will do much of the same. So the starting backcourt of the second place Northwestern Wildcats will return, in my opinion. Like I said, Boo Buie is already back. I think Chase Aldeej will come back. That's Northwestern. We talked about Illinois, Indiana. I don't think anybody put their name in outside of Zach Edey for Purdue. We talked Michigan State, Michigan. Ohio State, Sensabaugh is gone. He'll be a first-round draft pick. I don't think he'll return. The kids at Penn State were all their eligibility has expired, so they're gone. No one from Maryland put their name in the draft process. Jameer Young didn't. Julian Reese didn't. So they'll be back. Iowa. Chris Murray is gone. He'll be a late first, early second round draft pick. He won't come back. I don't think anybody did for Minnesota. They lost Talon Cooper to South Carolina, so he won't be back. But pretty much everybody else. Pharrell Payne, I believe, is back. Nebraska, I think everybody is back. Yeah, so I think that's it. Courtney, I tried to run through as quickly as I could off the top of my dome, but thank you for the question. Courtney, your avatar is really pretty, but it seems to be very similar to some of the other avatars that have come up on the show. I wonder if that is coincidence or not, but thank you. What's up, Wes K? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. What does Indiana look like with his current roster losing Jackson, the freshman? I love Woodson's future in the Big Ten. Brandon, Indiana's Mike Woodson has been killing it, not only in the transfer portal, but let's see. Let me pull this up. not only in the transfer portal, but also on the recruiting scene. Let's see what their roster looks like, who they have right now. See, they still this isn't. They still have Jalen Hood-Schifino on here. So you're looking at Malik Renew, Caleb Banks, C.J. Gunn. That's a nice three. Those are all freshmen, and those guys. Obviously, I'm a big Malik Renew fan, but C.J. Gunn can score the basketball, and Caleb Banks started to get time as he was coming on down the stretch in the season. Jordan Geronimo transfers to Maryland. Race Thompson is gone, so they don't have Tamar Bates, I believe, transferred to Missouri, and Logan Duncombe, I believe, is at Xavier. I believe he transferred to Xavier. So Trey Galloway should be back. You're looking at Miller Kopp is gone. Trey Galloway, C.J. Gunn, Caleb Banks, Malik Renew. Xavier Johnson got the medical hardship, so he'll be back. Michael they've got a 7-footer from Oregon, Kel'el Ware. They've got another power forward that's transferring in from Miami. So they're really strong up front. I'm missing a key player as well, but Indiana will be. They'll more than likely be top 3, I believe, Brandon, preseason. I'd be surprised if they were outside of the top 3 preseason with Xavier Johnson coming back. You got Malik Renew, Trey Galloway, C.J. Gunn, Caleb Banks, some of the 7-footer from Oregon, the 6'9" power forward from Miami. I think they should be top 5. I won't say top 3. I'll say top 5 right now. But Mike Woods is doing a heck of a job, Brandon. Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate your support. What's up, Curtis Dietz? Good to see you. Thank you, my man. Yes, Curtis, here's the thing. Assistant coaches have always been important. They just never got to shine because there was not a transfer portal like we've seen in the last couple of years. So assistant coaches are extremely important because if you can secure the talent, you'll secure the future of a program. So, for example, Carl Hobbs is a great example out of Rutgers, who left Rutgers, is joining Georgia Tech, and he took a 5-star recruit with him who had committed to Rutgers. Now he's at Georgia Tech with him. I wouldn't be surprised if the 4-star guard that just decommitted from Rutgers may join Carl Hobbs at Georgia Tech as well. So, when you look at assistant coaches, let's take University of Illinois, for example. Chester Frazier has got great recruiting ties, as does Tim Anderson, as does Jeff Alexander. So if one of the and so here's the thing, when Orlando Antigua and Chin left Illinois to Kentucky, in my mind, I thought, man, Illinois' recruiting might take a hit, but it didn't, because Tim Anderson, Jeff Alexander, and Chester Frazier have their own recruiting ties and relationships that are very strong. And Illinois really didn't miss a beat in terms of recruiting when they lost 2 big-time assistant coaches, Curtis. So great question. And, yeah, we're seeing the importance of it more and more. Deion Hoops Page, what's up? Terrence Shannon Jr. lacked something NBA-wise, so he would come back to Illinois. And would y'all like to see college game go to 4? Yes, Deion Hoops Page. Let's make college basketball a little bit more like the rest of basketball. The WNBA, high school basketball, women's college basketball, the WNBA and the NBA all play 4 quarters. Why is college basketball still playing 2 halves? Why are we still doing that? Great point, Deion. And I think that Terrence Shannon Jr. will return to Illinois. The thing is, Terrence has a hard time wiping his behind with his right hand. If y'all know what I mean, he got to work on that right hand. Got to stay under control. He loses control too much. When he goes full speed and he just throws his body, he's trying to get to the free throw line. Now, he got to the free throw line as well as any player in the Big Ten last year. I'll give him that. But he's out of control a lot of times. And he's going full speed and he's just throwing his body in there to get the contact to get to the line. At the NBA level, you can't be out of control. You can't be off balance like that because they won't give you any calls. And his shooting's got to even become more consistent. He was lights out at the beginning of the season from three, but his 3-point percentage really dropped as the season went on. And he lost his consistency. I think he lost some of his confidence from the 3-point line. So he's got a few things to work on. So I expect him back in Chicago, in the Illinois roster. Jeffrey Corduroy, good to see you, Jeffrey. Do you think Dane Danger is working on his free throws right now? He was quite the bricklayer at the line last season. Yeah, Jeffrey, he might have had some struggles from the line, but the big fella can play. Is uber skilled. Footwork is as good as anybody in the conference, including Zach Edey. Dane Danger can play. And here's the thing, Jeffrey, he only shot, I think he averaged 3 or 4 free throws a game. Dane Danger needs 12 to 15 touches in the post. He needs to touch the rock. He's an excellent passer. He's not selfish. He can score with either hand. Yeah, sometimes he didn't convert at the free throw line quite as well, but if you only get there 3 or 4 times a game, you're not going to be very consistent. If he got 12 or 15 touches a game, 1, he'd score more. 2, he'd get to the line. 3, he would get the opposing front line's team in foul trouble because he's so good. He just didn't get enough touches this past season. You know, he's sitting there worried about Coleman Hawkins playing point guard at 6'10" on the perimeter, and you know, Matthew Meyer, you know, I don't know whether he had a good batch that day or a bad batch. Let me stop talking about that. Let me stop talking about Matthew Meyer because he was a shot creator, but man, you didn't know what Meyer you were going to get from day to day. Let's see. Thank you, Jeffrey. Patrick, I don't talk ACC stuff, so I'm not going to comment on Virginia. But thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. Mike Divvy's making noise with so many levels right now. The biggest get of them all could be bringing back Calbert Cheaney to mentor and develop players on and off court. Great call, Coach Dave Davis. Calbert Cheaney has been hired to mentor and a personal development coach. He'll do a fantastic job. The all-time leading scorer in Indiana history. I believe he's still the all-time leading scorer in Big Ten history. And is a great, great young man, high character guy. I think Dave Davis is right. That's a big get for Indiana. And a guy with an extensive NBA background, which only helps attract the top players. Yeah, I've referenced Ray J. Dennis, the guard from Toledo, early in the show. It's still undecided. He's visited Illinois, Michigan, Baylor, and Utah. He's yet to make his decision. He said it was any day now on Monday. It's now Thursday. I would expect him to probably make a decision next week. I'd be surprised if he made a decision today or tomorrow, but more than likely next week. Yeah, no, Mike Woodson is a real deal, man. He knows what he's doing. What's up, Dave Crosby? You know what? I'm sure they do, Dave. Coach Underwood has got relationships all over the place, and I believe that they've got something up their sleeve. Now, could they do it by committee? Yes, they could. I don't see Marcus Demast being able to play point, but I do see Sincere Harris with another year under his belt being a little bit better at that position. I believe Ty Rodgers can play the point guard position. If they don't get Ray J. Dennis, I believe he could run the point for Illinois. I really, really do. And the guard from Utah Valley is Harmon. He has played point guard as well. So you may have to do it by committee. and they may bring another vet or someone in. And the freshman Morelli, he's going to get a shot as well. He's a pure point guard, and I know it. With the experiment last season with the freshman point guard, I know the lineup fans may be skittish, but he comes highly touted. So Illinois will be fine at the point guard position. They may not be elite if they can't get Ray J. Dennis, but Brad Underwood will figure out a way to get it done. What's up, Derek Blakely? Good to see you. Will Chase Audige return to Northwestern? If so, what's holding things up? Derek, I think these guys like to play out the process. They want to figure out if they can go and work out for different teams. The draft combine was completed last week. And so now teams are trying to figure out who to bring in for workouts and whatnot. So I think Chase Audige will be a part of that process. But the fact that he was not brought in to the NBA draft combine, he'll get some workouts with some teams, but I trust and believe that he'll come back to Northwestern. And big ups, Derek. By the way, my mentor and friend, Jim Barry, got inducted into the Medill School Hall of Fame. Great honor. It was a great ceremony. And I'm sure, Derek, you won't be far behind if you're not in there already. So big ups to Northwestern Wildcats for putting my man, Mamela, Jim Barry into the Medill School Hall of Fame there. Chef Brian X, what's good, Chef? Good to see you, brother. Hope you're well. Hope you're doing well. Will Michigan State be the top again this season? Do they still have the talent to make the Final Four this upcoming season? Patrick, I do believe they will have the talent. Consider this. They lost to Kansas State on an otherworldly performance by Marquise Noel. I mean, he had the game of his life in the Sweet 16 in overtime. They had to throw everything they had at Michigan State. And Michigan State and Tom Izzo got that group to peak at the right time. The same group is coming back with even more talent. I think that Michigan State will be at the top, yes. And I think they'll be competing for a Big Ten title, regular season, conference tournament title. And if they don't have significant injuries, and I don't bet against Tom Izzo, Hall of Fame, he will develop those younger players, the incoming freshmen, the rising sophomores. They'll have a much bigger role this year with the Michigan State Spartans, and I believe they will be better than they were last season. So yes, Patrick, thank you. So it looks like that does it for the questions. And remember, you can join the tribe via text. This is the inner circle that is Bardo's Breakdown. It's pretty cool. We've got over 230 people on there now, over 700 on the email list. So they're having a lot of fun. And on these lists are the only places that I'm revealing my top. I'm asking for my top teams in every Big Ten program on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. But I'm revealing my top 5 inside of the text chain and also the newsletter. So you can join 2 different ways. You can also join the third way if you want to go to Bardo's Breakdown group on Facebook. We've got 2,200 members in there. We do some different things in there as well. So you've got 3 ways. Join the tribe via text 312-847-2739. Go to the email list, old school email list, stephenbardo.com/college-basketball-newsletter. Or you can go to Bardo's Breakdown group on Facebook and join. All right. Wait a minute. Got a couple more comments in here. Let me get this really quickly. Do you think Penn State has a shot at being a top team eventually? What is stopping them right now? Well, they just lost their head coach, and he's in Notre Dame. They've got a new head coach in Mike Rhodes, who has had success at VCU. He's bringing a couple of really good players with him, Ace Baldwin being one of them. So Penn State will be competitive, but they've had tremendous roster turnover. They've got a new head coach. It's going to take them some time, but they will be competitive. They won't be at the bottom of the Big Ten because they've got some talent that they brought in, some high Power 5 talent that he's had transfer in. So I don't think they'll be at the bottom of the Big Ten. They won't be at the top of the Big Ten, but they will be competitive. Did Jay Wright get back onto the college coaching? I read he was considering it. Nothing I've read suggests that he is back in college basketball. I don't anticipate Jay Wright coming back. I think he would go more NBA than he would in college basketball, but that's just me. I'd love to see him back in the game because he's great. He's one of the best basketball minds. He's one of the coolest dudes that you'll ever meet in the game. Okay. So that'll do it. Thank you for watching Bardo's Breakdown. I appreciate you guys. And stay tuned for more news and information around the conference, because when it comes up, I'll go live like we did today. All right. And look, share, like, and comment on this. It really helps the growth of the show, especially on YouTube. Share, like, and comment on this video. It really helps me, and I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for your time, as always. And until next time, holla, y'all.